All right, and welcome to another edition of Woodsy's Club Tour. And might I say, I'm very happy today. Very excited. Last time I was on the other end of the mic talking to this
Yes,
man, but Denan Kemp, the man, the bloke in the bar. Hello, champion.
the bloke in a bar. Very strange to be the bloke in a bar. No, it's good to be here, mate. And I just want to say thank you for jumping on my body when you did.
Oh, mate,
It's very appreciated.
you got me out there, mate. You got my start in, on the mic, and I enjoyed it.
I might have been the 200 NRL games or something like that, but
Please, mate, please, do me best. Do me best. How do you go when people refer to you as bloke in the bar?
um, it's initially like obviously you get used to it over like a few years or whatever. Initially, it definitely is weird because like you're used to like when you're playing footy, they're like, oh, Denan Kemp or whatever. And look, I wasn't no superstar in it, so let's just
One of the great wingers.
yeah, for a year. So let's not pretend. But you obviously get used to being known for that. And so when Bloke in a Bar started kind of like first blowing up,
Yep.
and people would literally call out Bloke in a Bar because like in my head, it's a podcast, like it's a business. Like obviously, business sounds like a very aggressive term, like, oh, it's a business and, there's nothing real or something to like kind of care about because it's my whole life. But so when I'm hearing people call that out, it's to me, initially, it was like people calling out Coca-Cola.
Oh, yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
Or like Broncos.
yeah, like exactly.
Just
Like
the brand.
it's a brand.
Yeah.
But because when I started it, it didn't start as like me saying I'm the bloke in a bar,
Mm-hmm.
but I think people interpreted it that way. And it's just a
Yes.
really good lesson of like, you may have an idea in your head of like what a brand is, but it's actually what the mass audience interprets it as. That's what the real brand is.
So you're just basically saying that, like, it's just the bloke in the bar.
Like, yeah, everyone's a bloke in a bar. So
Wow.
the brand wasn't I'm the bloke in a bar talking footy. It was blokes in the bar
And
talking footy.
like their sort of perspective on it.
Exactly. And also like anyone is a bloke in a bar. Like each weekend there are literally hundreds of thousands of blokes in a bar talking sport, just talking about whatever they want to talk
Yeah.
about. So that's why it was called Bloke in a Bar. It wasn't called Bloke in a Bar as in I'm the bloke in a bar. I think some people anyway, they like consumed it that way. So I'm like, okay, yeah, sweet. I'm happy to be the bloke in a bar if you want.
Well, mate, I'm telling you, it's flying. I was watching wrestling the other day, and I seen a bloke in the bar T-shirt
Yeah,
behind the wrestling ring
mate,
on a
it's,
live show.
That's like just incredible when I see stuff like that. Even to this day, when I see people wearing merch or drinking the beer or whatever, I still get like, that is absolutely insane. Like, incredibly humbling, 100%.
That's crazy, mate. But before we go to the bloke in bar stuff, I want to talk. You were originally a rugby league player
For a little bit.
Yes, before you were a podcaster on fire. Talk to us. You didn't really play rugby league till probably after 16, was it? You were a soccer man, weren't you?
Yeah. So I didn't actually. So if you're talking about actually playing rugby league, like club rugby league,
Yep.
in regards to like your training, Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever, my first year of that was out of school
Oh wow.
with the Broncos under 19s
So how
and
did you
reserve
get?
grade.
So how did you get straight from
Well,
school?
so basically what happened was is that so I had played soccer my whole, from ages 4 all the way up till, year 12, made all the rep teams, all that kind of stuff, done a bit of athletics and been, successful in that when I was a bit younger. And so at my primary school and high school, it's not the same school, but the same group of mates kind of stayed together. And so when we had to grade 12, a lot of my mates that did play footy, because I was always the odd one out because like everyone loves footy, whereas I didn't even watch footy. Like
Oh,
it was,
really?
yeah, no, I didn't know any, like the only memory I have of watching footy is literally at my granddad's knee when I was like super young and he loved the Broncos, loved
Wow.
Steve Renouf. Yeah. Other than that, I watched EPL. Like I watched Man United was my team growing up.
Yeah. Was that Rooney?
Nah, that was before Rooney. So it would
Oh,
have
wow.
been Beckham,
Oh,
Giggs,
yep.
all those boys. And so, yeah, I watched that. But eventually, like, I didn't really watch any sport. I just pretty much played video games when I got my spare time, to be honest, on PC. Because at my house where I lived, we didn't have reception for TV. We only had like 2 channels, channel
So where
2
were you
and
living
10.
at this time?
Mudgeerbar, Gold Coast.
Oh, okay.
And so we had there's like, it's in the hinterland and there's huge trees next door and they blocked the signal.
Yep.
And we couldn't afford like Foxtel or anything like that.
Oh, wow.
So it was just like, you've got 2 channels to watch, channel 2 or channel 10. So ABC, I'm not watching that. No offense, like ABC, it's good, but I was like I was a kid, like I'm watching ABC. And channel 10. So sometimes, but outside of that, we only had the internet. The internet's where I watched everything. So I just had my PC, had the dial-up internet.
I was going to say it was just a DD.
Yeah, the dial-up internet. It would drop out every like. It's funny. I used to play this game, online game. And you used to do my head in because like all the rich people that played that game had like cable internet.
Oh,
and
yep.
Cable internet is faster.
Yep.
Well, back then it was faster. But also, so in this game, you can leave your character, like when you can go away from the keyboard, so away from the computer, and you can leave your character to do something. Like you can write a script to make it it's to like automatically do something.
Yep.
And then as it's automatically do something, the skill will increase.
Okay.
So people, what they would do is they would leave their character overnight doing that skill to get better. But I was like, it was like the bane of my existence that we couldn't afford the good internet. We had the shit internet that would disconnect every 2 hours. So like all these other guys were getting better than me.
So they're getting 12 hours head start.
I'm getting 2 hours. It would kill me every day. I wake up, it'd be disconnected.
What game was this?
Ultima Online, it was called.
Oh mate, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, no, it's in the depths. It's in the depths of neckbeard territory. And yeah, so anyway, so I had mates that I grew up together, and they knew I was a pretty good athlete, good at soccer or whatever. And like I'd mucked around. I think I was in grade like 6 or whatever, and I played a little bit of footy for my school then, and I made like the rep team then. And I remember we went away from the rep team. It was with Darius Boyd actually.
Oh, okay, wow.
Anyway, we went away with the rep team, and like they were all saying, "Mate, come play for Nerang and all these Gold Coast clubs." And I was like, "Nah, no way." And so since I just like that was just a fun thing I did with my friends. It lasted for maybe a month or whatever. And then anyway, so I went back. Obviously, played soccer, did athletics. Year 12 rolls around. My mates are like, "Mate, come away, play confraternity," which is like a Catholic school carnival. And the year before that, they were begging me to play the year before that, so a year up. And I lied to them and said that I had nationals for soccer. Now I did have nationals for soccer, but it was actually a few weeks away from that, and it was on the Gold Coast, this confraternity shield like competition. So I lied to them and said that I'd be away. They're driving. They actually caught me driving to the game with my girlfriend at the time, going to get ice cream. So I felt guilty from the year before. I was like, man, I dogged the boys. Like I lied and said that I was away, but I just didn't want to play any footy. I didn't want to play rugby league. And so the next year I was like, all right, because this was my age group. I was like, all right, I'll go away. Went away to confraternity. We were in the B comp. So when we're talking about footy school, like we're talking, out front row was like 80 kilos. Like we are terrible, like terrible. Then I think on the first day, I remember vividly, we all got on the bus just after the first day, and our coach, like a teacher at the school, he just asked me randomly. At the time, I was like, just a random question, like, "What would you do if an NRL club was interested in you?" And I was like, "I don't care, like whatever." And so it didn't click. Like I wasn't sitting there going, I thought it was just a genuine question from a teacher to a young guy that was okay at sport. Anyway, fast forward, keep playing for the rest of the tournament. I think in one game I scored like 5 or 6 tries or something like that.
Yep.
And then at the end of the tournament, I actually got sick. So I got real crook. So they're doing the presentation with the people that have won it. They're giving all the awards out, and then they read my name out. Play with the most potential, Denan Kemp, St. Michael's. So I'm so sick. So I go up there. I don't care. Like I'm not even listening to what he's saying. All I remember Ivan Henjak saying is, "Mate," because this is at a time if you're with a club, you couldn't speak to anyone else.
Okay.
Like so, they're like, "Mate, if you're probably with another club." So we understand that. If that's the case, just let us know and we'll back off. I didn't even answer him. I was so crook. I was like, yeah, sweet, whatever. Because I didn't care. I had nationals for soccer in like 2 weeks.
Yep.
So I was like, who gives a shit? Anyway, so that goes by. And I think it was like a week or two goes by. And I just like mentioned to my parents, like, I won this like thing with the player with the most potential. I think you're supposed to go away to some camp or something, development camp.
Yep.
Anyway, so my dad's like, well, we need to find out what this is. So he rings up Broncos. Somehow, some way gets onto Wayne Bennett.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how he got onto him, and just let him know, like, just so you know, my son doesn't play rugby league. He's about to go away for nationals for soccer. He doesn't know anything about rugby league or what the goal is or this development camp. We've got no idea. He doesn't even watch it. Couldn't even tell you what the numbers, like the positions are. Anyway, so that's when Wayne was like, oh, wow, so he's got player of the most potential. He's never played before. So they go, instead of going to development camp, at the end of the year, we want you to come to our next camp immediately, which was the elite camp, which was like all the guns coming out of school and that. So I went to that. And at this, so when this all started happening, that's when AFL found out about a kid that was a decent athlete or whatever.
Yep.
I had a meeting with AFL, the Brisbane Lions. They said they'd fast track me to the draft. They'd like train me one-on-one for a few months, then get me through the draft system. And so my dad, who was a massive AFL fan, was like stinging. And to his credit, he didn't say anything. Like he could have easily been like, son, I want you to go play AFL. He didn't say anything because my dad didn't watch rugby league. Then we went to because I was with the Queensland Raw at the time for soccer.
Oh, so you were with the Raw. Wow.
Yeah. So we went to them and then we said, look, at this stage, I think I was 16, 17. and I was currently in their reserve grade squad because the next year they were going into A League. So I was in the reserve grade squad for their A League squad because the next year. Anyway, so we went to them and we said, listen, the Broncos are interested because I went to the camp. I did really well at the camp. They basically offered me an under-19s contract.
Yep.
The Broncos did. Came home and then, it was just basically the Raw just said, mate, you'll probably play A-League in, 2 years, I'd say, which would be about 18, 19, which would be the right trajectory because, like, the players that I was playing with ended up going and playing for Australia and all that kind of stuff. And so, we just had to make the decision. And I think that with League, like, I definitely had a very special memory with my granddad watching the Broncos.
So from that moment on his knee, that was the reason why.
It was a big reason why. Like just that real. Honestly, it's the only memory I have with him.
Wow.
My granddad on my father's side, and then also my brother had gone across to England for soccer, and he had been offered a contract with Norwich.
Yep.
And so that was at the time. I think they were just below the Premier League, and he got homesick. He was like, no, you know what? I'm done. So he came home. So the initial plan was I was supposed to like follow him across. But then when he was like, nah, I'm coming back. I don't want to do this. He ended up becoming a doctor and he's, really happy with life now. So I was like, well, I've got this incredible memory of my grandfather with Steve Renoff just with the headgear on. And obviously my brother, he's come back from England and like rugby league, the way I saw it at that age, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, but I just looked at it and I was like, athletically, if you're gifted and you're tough, you can play rugby league in the NRL, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you have to be a little bit coordinated, but as a winger,
not really.
If you're athletic and you're tough enough,
yeah,
and you're willing to like actually train hard and all that kind of stuff, you can play NRL. Like, I think a lot of people kind of think that you need this high skill level to play NRL. I think what makes NRL so special is it's the toughness. That's the real cutoff. It's the toughness to get into NRL. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. It's the Broncos at the time, and even still, but at the time, they were easily the biggest sporting franchise in the country.
And Wayne was the head coach at this point.
Wayne was the head coach at this point. And at the time, they were bigger than any AFL brand. Like, this is early 2000s, we're talking at Broncos. We're talking like crazy side. So, I was like, you know what? I'm going to play league. Got there the first day and they were like, oh, we don't want you with our under-19s. We want you with our reserve grade Clydesdale side.
Oh, wow.
I was like, all right, sweet.
Was it which, like, any players that were with them at
that
time?
Mate, Sammy Thaiday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're like Nev Costigan, guns, like guns. So, I was with the reserve grade. I remember the first day, rocked up, and John Dixon, the Clydesdale coach, he got all the young guns coming out of school. So we're talking about all the guys. Like, at that stage at the Broncos, they could essentially ask any young kid, come to the Broncos, and most young... I know other fans don't like hearing this, but at that stage of the Broncos, they're pretty much like Penrith now. Obviously, they didn't win 3 in a row.
That's like in Queensland, is that right?
Pretty honestly,
I suppose anywhere, really.
Anywhere. We're talking about the Broncos early 2000s. It was them and Roosters, really. And so the young guys coming through were like the best of the best. And so, he sat us all down and he was like... He got us in a semicircle and he was like, you're ready for first grade. You're ready for reserve grade. You're ready for reserve grade. Like all the boys, and they probably were. They've been playing footy their whole life. And the only person out of all the group where it was like, you're not ready for reserve grade was me, because like I wasn't at that time. I wasn't. Like I remember a week before I rocked up to that training session, I was down at my old running sprinting coach. And he was teaching me how to tackle. Oh, wow. So on the running track, he was teaching me, like I was tackling my brother because I didn't know how to tackle. Probably still don't, if I'm being honest. And I remember, on the first week rocked up, on the diamonds, you warm up on the diamonds. Yeah. I did like 3 or 4 tackles. I had to stop because I was cramping in my neck. I didn't have any muscles there.
You're just not used.
Never done it.
They've had repetitions.
Yeah, never done it. So like as a soccer player, you don't use any of that there.
Wow. What did the boys say when that was happening? Geez, you would have copped some flack.
No, you know what? Like, I didn't because I was so foreign.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying? Like, if I had have come through the system...
Bloke should have been India.
Because I've done it. Yeah. And also they know me and whatever. But it was... actually, at the time, I didn't realise it. And I was just kind of like so naive. But there was... Looking back now, I do feel like there were a few players that were like, who the fuck's this guy? Like,
what's doing?
Yeah, like, he's never played footy before. He's a soccer player. He looks like a soccer player. And he, like, so in that year, that first year, I was the only one out of all that group that ended up actually playing reserve grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like, now I look back. At the time, I didn't realize it, but I look back and I understand, like, certain things that were said by some of the boys and that there's a bit of jealousy within that age group.
Every club's got it.
And I understand it too, because it's like you've worked your whole life, and this fucking nobody that you don't know who he is, just comes in and goes okay. But yeah, so that's how it all come about really, and then never looked back.
So you obviously would have had Lockyer there.
So at this stage, I was in just reserve grade.
Yep.
And back in those days, your reserve grade, you didn't meet the first graders.
Oh,
You didn't train near them. No, you didn't go near them. Like we were out North Brisbane. They trained at Red Hill.
Yep.
The top squad did.
Yep.
Whereas I was training with the reserve grade squad at that stage. But it was at the end of that year and it's again, when you're so young, you don't know all these little things that are being thrown at you intentionally. Mm-hmm. So at the end of that year, I remember I was at South Bank Park. It was with one of my 1,000 exes ago girlfriends. And
we all make mistakes.
She made a massive mistake. Anyway, so yeah, we were sitting down, like just eating food or whatever, and I got a call from Ivan Henjak, who was the assistant coach to Wayne Bennett at the time, and he's like, "Hey mate, we got Brett Seymour has had a shoulder reconstruction, and we've got a bonding camp, and we'd love you to come for it because so my contract didn't say I was supposed to be in first grade squad or anything like that." So they're basically like, we've got a spare spot. Would you like to be part of the bonding camp with first grade? And I was like, yeah, of course. He's like, all right, mate, bring your boardies, bring your singlets. And just remember, I've only played not even a year of rugby league at this stage.
Wow.
Like I am sitting there going, I cannot believe this is happening. I was so happy or whatever. Anyway, so I'm like nearly in tears. Like, I cannot believe this. Like, I'm going to be part of the first grade squad for the next couple of weeks. Because like, it was basically just a bonding camp, then they would send me back to Clydesdale.
So where were they going?
Well, you'll soon find out.
Okay, yep.
So it's a bonding camp. Anyway, so I rock up, and I'm nervous so nervous. I would have been like...
You don't know anyone in that first grade
No
squad?
one in that. The only person that I know kind of, as in I grew up in the same area, is Darius.
Yep.
But we didn't like grow up and hang out and have each other's phone numbers. We'd just be like, hey mate, that's it. Like nothing else. Anyway, so you walked in, and we're talking like, Sean Berrigan's, Darren Lockyer, Webkey. Like, actually, no, I think Webkey had retired at this stage.
Petro?
No, sorry, 2000, and this would have been the year that he did end up retiring.
So 7?
Six.
The one that came with 6.
Yeah, 6. So this is 5 heading into 6.
Yep.
Petro, Thorny, I'm pretty sure. Like, just a gun side. It all blurs together when you're so many years. Anyway, so you rock up, nervous as anything, and we're just sitting there. And these army drill sergeants come sprinting in, going, get outside. Barrow starts laughing, thinking it's a piss take.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. The army drill sergeants get in his face, going, you fucking put your phone down, get the fuck outside. Like, we're talking hot, like full on. And I'm sitting there going, bro, I'm from soccer. These army camps, they don't exist in soccer. Like, they don't even exist. So I don't know what's happening.
How's the neck muscles now, big boy?
Bro. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what's happening. I'm just going with the flow. We get outside, they strip us naked, they give us our packs and say, fucking put your kit on, get in the bus, and then they just basically take us for 6 days and just fucking flog us, bro. So much so
they did a 6-day army camp.
Mate, it was the craziest shit I've ever done in my life.
Oh my God.
So it was like so crazy. They had to literally contact wives to say, oh, by the way, your husband's not going to be not going to be home for like 5-6 days or whatever.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, we get in the bus and like, I don't think the Broncos actually knew, like, mate, like, this is... So a lot of the first graders had already done an army camp before. Because the Inogra, they've done it a few years before, and there's crazy stories from that as well, which it might even be crazier than we did. But for me, this is like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know what's going on. So we get taken up to the Sunshine Coast. They just pack, the typical army stuff. They pack marcher, the jerry cans, the stretchers.
How's your hands?
Killing ya. The chafe. I didn't have skins at this time because I didn't know what's going on. We didn't get any skins because we didn't know what was going on. Like, we just got... So we're all chafing. And we get set down. Mickey Innes was in the side too.
Oh, yeah.
So we do a whole day of pack marching. I think we had one protein bar to eat the whole day. We finally go to sleep on the side of the road. In our sleeping bags, and they start throwing stun grenades like around us.
Oh.
And so we're just hearing this, and I'm hearing Mickey and us go, hang on, it's too far. And anyway, so yeah, we're getting woken up, and then we had to navigate in the night, and then Hodjo tried to get a mutiny going. He tried to get the boys together to go, they can't treat us like this. This is bullshit.
Hodjo, he's the best.
And he's the best. Anyway, so he got a few boys on his back, which was his Hodjo. He's a leader.
Yeah, 100%.
Me, I was too young. I'm just going, mate, I'm not going against anything. I'm just going to keep
I'm
me
from
out of
soccer.
I don't know what's happening right now. Seriously, I don't know what's happening. Anyway, and then Hodjo's riling the boys up, he creates a bit of a mutiny. The boys like, yeah, they can't treat us like this. This is bullshit. 10 minutes later, you look across, Hodgie was sitting on the back of the ute and he's just having a dart, all relaxed.
You're kidding.
Yeah, he just needed a dart. He was all good. And then he killed it the rest of the fucking thing.
Oh my God.
And then, so what they did is they smashed us for 3 days. We had to kill chickens to eat. I remember Brad thought they're going, boys, you want to eat? Here you go. Here's a chicken. Here's a pot. Here's some water. Work it out. And I'm sitting there going, I'm not killing no chicken, man. This is like getting out of hand. Anyway, so Brad Thorne just goes, give it here. Boost.
No way.
Yep, plucks it, chucks it in, feeds all the boys. We keep going. Goes for 3 days. They go, all right, boys. Fuck, you've been great. And they start playing mind games with us like, fuck, incredible stuff, guys. Incredible stuff. And because I think a lot of people, the biggest things, and you see it on SAS as well, like the TV show, not the hardest thing, but one of the mentally hardest things is when they're talking to you, literally from where to go, is no emotion.
Yeah.
And so you'd actually rather them shouting than no emotion. So when they start like going, oh mate, how good, you start getting lulled into this sense of like, oh, done. This is great. Like he's giving me raps. He's just been speaking to me in a monotone.
Yep.
He like treating me like shit for like 3 days. Anyway, yeah, we'll jump on the bus, boys. Fucking great stuff. Rah rah. Anyway, so the yarns start getting around. All right, boys, we're going to the Goldie. We're done. Going to the Goldie, getting the beers together. This is supposed to be a bonding session.
How good is this?
Miss one exit, miss another exit, miss another exit. Oh shit! Take us down to northern New South Wales and tell us up for another 3 days.
You're kidding.
Yeah, walking up and down. This called like the Stenson or something like that. They made us bathe in like we hadn't had a shower at this stage, so there's like just a fucking.
So for 3 days you've had no shower.
No shower. We had to go into a river to get like kind of clean. Blokes came out with leeches, ticks. I remember Scotty Binto, he couldn't sleep, so he went in and he was like, I can't sleep. It was fucking madness, like rah rah. And they're like, eventually they're like, oh, all right, mate, here's a sleeping tablet. They gave it to him, gave him the tablet. He falls asleep, wakes up the next day, and they're like, see, mate, this is a lesson for you to learn. That was a Panadol. Mate, yeah, so it was intense. In the last day, they did let us like do some like clearings of rooms and stuff like that. The army.
So you had a bit of fun at the back
in the last day. Yeah, we did.
Well, 5 days in, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I lost I think 11 kilos. Darius lost 13 kilos in that day. Yeah, I think 12 kilos. Sorry, 12 kilos.
So like, and the whole preseason, most of the time you're normally trying to put weight on.
Yeah,
right?
And I think also, so what kind of happened from there? I think because this is 2005 into 6.
Yep.
As sports science got a bit better, I think they started to realize, okay, we can do army camps, but like 6 days is no one's doing that anymore. Like
normally 2.5 days max.
2.5 days will flog you because then you know we can see who's what everyone's made of.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I was supposed to go back to Resi's, but I don't know, I must have gone all right. They're like, no, you're with first grade now.
Oh, how good's that?
But see, that's the thing. I didn't know that was a test.
It's like initiation.
Well, because like now I look back on it, and look, maybe I'm reading too far into it, but they're probably sitting there going, we've got this soccer player that's pretty talented, but is he mentally tough? Like,
see if he's there.
Yeah, it's like soccer players. I don't want to generalize, but mostly aren't as mentally tough as.
No, they're just runners.
They're incredibly skillful.
Yes.
Incredibly fit and athletic, but a lot of them I don't think would have the toughness to play NRL. And vice versa, I don't think a lot of NRL players would have the skill to play soccer.
Well, one for you. How do you think players today would handle a 6-day army camp?
I don't think that'd be allowed to. I just
RLPA would get in. They'd put their foot in. They reckon.
It's just a different time, and there's good things and there's bad things, and
yeah,
I get it, and it's a different generation. I do think though that there's something to be said that the Storm has been the most dominant side. Obviously, Penrith has been the most dominant side for so long, and they make all their new recruits do an army camp.
It's called like a no DQ or something.
Yeah,
and I think the winner of the camp gets like a big pipe.
Yeah, so it's like there's a reason.
Yeah,
and I know people go, "Oh, that's horrific" or whatever, but it's just mentally testing yourself.
Yeah,
if you want to go through your life without mentally testing yourself to like see where your limit is, that's fine. That's your decision. But some of us want to see that. Where is the edge? And I'll tell you what, I think most people don't realize how tough they really are. I honestly think that most people see that and go, I could never do that. I think you could. I honestly think you could.
We had one at Manly, and I think the biggest thing is you get surprised about your teammates that you sort of think are either strong when they don't get strong, when they can't get through it, or the ones that you think are a little bit soft.
Yeah.
And they come through the other side and go, oh, mate, this bloke's actually tough.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think that's another thing that you definitely learn on the army camp is guys that you think would be like monsters.
Yep.
They not necessarily bad, they're just normal. And guys that you're like thinking, mate, he's going to break in the first day. He's a dog. He's there all day. He loves it.
Mate, I'll tell you a funny one. We did one under hook at Dragons.
Yeah.
and we had to be at Wollongong at 2:00 in the morning. Moses Sully got to sleep at 1:30 a.m. Rocks up in brand new TNs.
Oh, my God.
And we end up having to carry him for 2 days. And he's a big unit, man.
He's a big boy.
Oh, mate. So he was in my group, and I'll never forget it. We had a challenge, and like the winner of the challenge, there was 3 groups, and then they got to pick who carried the jerry can. And bloody Dozer, Ben Hunt, sent it to our group. We're already carrying Sully. Now we've got an extra full jerry can we've got to carry too. Oh, mate. It tests the men between boys, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. No, it's I did one of the Dragons too when I was there under Steve Price when he was a coach for a bit. And that was just a 3-day one, but mate, they're tough. They're tough. But as I said, I think that like once you've done one, you just kind of know.
Oh, yeah, you get through it.
You're just going to look, my life sucks for the next few days.
The first one always sucks, but you know you can always get through it. Yeah. My favourite part is when the coaches get chafe because Hook tried to do it with us the whole time, and the big fella ended up back on the back of a Hilux getting carried back, driven back because his chafe was ridiculous.
I remember the coaching staff tried to do one with us, the Broncos, and they cut it short after like 2 days or something.
That's the best. Well, so you've got through the army camp. You make your debut against Manly.
Yeah, 2007. So I was 18th man that year, 2006 when they won it, but I never actually debuted.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next year is obviously when I debuted.
So how's that feeling for the weekend, and who rings you? How do you find out?
Mate, I think it was just normal.
Because it's different back when we were younger.
Yeah, there was no like big deal and calling parents and emotional jersey gift. Like there's none of that. Yeah. And it's good that it's changed for sure, but yeah, back when I was coming through, it was like, no, mate, you're next up. Like, let's not carry on here. You're here to do a job.
It's different, isn't it?
Different. And as I said, I'm not someone that sits there and gets on my soapbox and go, oh, back in my day it was way tough. Not at all. There's good and bad. For example, I think like you look at a guy like Reece Walsh, really represents the next generation.
Oh, does he what?
And so that overconfidence that we always try to chip as old school players, like, oh, he comes into a changing room, he hasn't earned the stripes yet, and he's chirping some of the older boys. That overconfidence is the same confidence that makes him go for his 5th try assist or something. So there's goods and bad with everything. Like I don't think it's as black and white as some people.
The problem with Aussies, I reckon, is that tall poppy syndrome. We want to bring people down, but we also want to see them come up with those big plays, and we want to see the characters. But then when we do see the characters shine, it's like, oh, come back, mate. It's like the Penrith boys.
Yeah,
good on them.
It's funny in their first few years, they were so loved by everyone. Then they become on top of the world and they're winning. It's like the Melbourne Storm. Everyone hated them because they were just so good.
Well, what about the speaker? Everyone was off the speaker at the start. Now you look at any club, any junior district club, they're all trying to carry a speaker like the Penrith boys.
Yeah. They definitely changed culture. Penrith. They definitely represent a very new wave. Not new wave.
Yeah.
But a growing demographic in rugby league.
Oh yeah. And what about, so you obviously make your debut, Lockyer plays alongside you?
No, this was during Origin.
Oh, during Origin?
Yeah, so that's the only way you get it. Like, usually at the Bronx at that side, the only way you get in debuts is through Origin.
How'd you feel? Was it a pinch yourself moment, knowing that, when you were 5, 6 years old, you're on the knee of your grandpa?
Yeah, mate, it's weird. Like, I don't ever remember being too nervous.
Yeah.
Like, obviously getting hyped, getting ready, and you're understanding that you've worked your whole life for this moment. And some people, we didn't play league your whole life. No, I was an athlete my whole life. So at some point, I'm playing professional sport. Whatever sport it ends up being, it's going to be professional sport. So I remember I told my parents, I don't want you to come down to Manly because I need to do this by myself.
Okay, yeah.
I was very much so like, I'm here by myself. I need to focus on myself and get the job done myself because it's on me whether I go well or not.
Yeah.
So I get down there, and I remember getting into the changing room, and it's never happened since. I've never experienced it before or after, but this weird calm came over me, and I seriously felt like, honestly, I felt like Superman. I felt untouchable.
Oh, wow.
I'd never experienced it since. Like, I genuinely couldn't believe. I was like, I am like, nothing can stop me. Went out there, played, and it was incredible. When I scored my try, I remember as I was running away, just going, I cannot believe
it was like a 75, 80-metre try, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was actually, a lot of it was Wayne's doing. So Wayne going into the game, Wayne goes, they love to chip and chase for Stewart.
Yep.
So what I want you to do is sit real deep for most of the game.
Okay.
Because you've got speed to get to the ball if the kick doesn't reach you. Mm-hmm. And even Daly in commentary said, oh, look, the fullback's been really good tonight, but some of his position is just a bit too deep.
Yeah.
And like I think that's a really good lesson for listeners. Is sometimes when you see things that look a bit off, they're actually being told to do that.
It's planned.
Yeah, it's all planned. Look, and so I'm really deep. I got to the ball every catch or whatever. Then I think Orford puts a trip over, and I go. In my head, I'm going. I'm either getting knocked out. I'm getting this ball because I'm not changing my line.
Yep.
And so I just hit that line. Stewart goes past me, break the line. And then when I get into the clear, I remember vividly thinking, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. Put the try down. And it was at the time, actually, a bit of pun. An old fellow that used to work at Fox told me this. At the time, it was the most metres by debutant in the modern era of rugby league. Yeah.
Oh,
It's like 270 or something like that. 77.
on debut, mate.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, what happened? I don't know.
Oh, winger, see?
I was a fullback.
So started fullback. But then the one moment I love talking about in Footy before we go to bloke stuff, the 4 tries against Parramatta.
Yeah.
And then the match winner off Lockie it was a little grubber in the corner, wasn't it?
Chip,
was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Got around Eric Growth.
Yeah, it was
at Suncorp.
mate, that time in my life where, I just had a coach that believed in me, obviously Wayne.
Yep.
Obviously incredible roster. Getting to play at Suncorp every week, it's all just a blur, and everything just worked. Just worked. That game, just that season, everything was working. Like I had a coach that understood the style of play that I wanted to play,
and that's a big thing for a player,
especially a small winger.
Yep.
If you're a big winger, it's like, okay, you're there to make meters.
You're a batting ram, play 1 2.
But Wayne knew that I wasn't that. He knew that I was a finisher, and Lockie, he understood that, I was a good finisher, so he would use me quite a lot. They score the first few tries, and the game's in the balance. And I remember the play before. You're in my head. I'm thinking, okay, it's my job. I'm nervous here. I don't know whether I want the ball or I don't want the ball because you always second guess. Not always, but you're sitting there going, in a team full of Darren Lockyer, these Queensland, Australian, New South, whatever you want. Am I the one that should be getting the ball? But in the other part of me is like, but it's my job. It's my job as a winger. So the play before, So I play the ball, I point, and I think I get tackled, and then again we reset. I point again, and he just puts it perfectly, not too deep that the fullback could get it, but also not too shallow that I couldn't get it. And as it was coming across, in my head, I thought, I knew the distance between me and Eric Growth and everything, so I was thinking, I can't slow down to catch this ball because if I do, I get taken out. The game's over, or at least we'd go into extra time. Maybe
was it golden point already? Wasn't it?
I think no, the buzzer had gone.
Just gone. Yeah, it was gone on the bell. Yeah,
I'll blow the play. I just kept running, and it was just a perfect bounce. Boom, straight up into my lap, got in the arm, and then straight to the corner.
How you feel at this point? Like seriously,
just. Yeah, you know what? It's just the year was so incredible.
Yep.
That it just was another moment where I was like, this is the best. Like I'm living the dream. I'm living the dream. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe that just happened. But at the same time, it was very much like that's my job.
Yep.
As well. Looking back on it, I make bigger deal out of it than when in the moment. In the moment, I'm thinking on the field, I'm thinking that's my job. That's literally what I get paid to do.
Yep.
Outside of it, I'm thinking, when I'm just in between training sessions during the week, I'm thinking life's so great. Like I'm just so happy. Everything's going so well.
What is this?
Yeah. What is happening? I can't believe. So it's not until you look back on it and you go, wow, that was a big, big moment. And you were,
huge.
That's something that every kid pretends to be in the backyard, or whether it's soccer, whether it's league, the match winner, on the buzzer, to get it off Darren Lockyer. So just lucky, bro. So lucky to be there.
And then so obviously, you say it's one of the greatest moments, that year. Then you make a move to the Warriors. How long did you sign with the Warriors for?
So I signed for...
It was a couple of years, wasn't it?
I think it was 2 years with a third option.
Yep.
Definitely, yeah. So it was definitely 2 years with maybe a third option. And a lot of people think that it was for a lot of money, and it wasn't. It was to play first grade.
Because who was the coach? Was Ivan?
So Wayne was leaving. Yep. Ivan was coming in as coach. And when we were doing contract negotiations at the start of the year, they told me that I was third string winger. And in my head, I was like, no, I feel like I'm the best winger at this club.
Yeah. Which is fair enough, 100%.
And so basically, then I started playing really good footy, and that's when my manager, when they told me that I'm third string winger at this stage, my manager's like, all right, I'll go out and check some stuff out. And they said, you're the third string winger, and we can only offer you a minimum. And so that's when my manager went out. He said, look, the Warriors are really keen. They can offer you 90 grand Australian, so about 120 New Zealand, 90 grand Australian, no match payments. So it's like, it's actually less than what you would earn 50 grand and match payments.
Yep.
Anyway, and so at that stage, the Warriors were going really good. I was intrigued about, experiencing a new culture, all that kind of stuff. It's my decision for sure. I made the decision. But at the same time, I do wish someone had have really understood the fact that I didn't know rugby league. So I
Yeah.
didn't know how big of a move that was. Like
Massive.
going to a whole new country as a 21-year-old.
How did you find the cultural change?
Well, it wasn't necessarily the culture change. It's just like that was good. I enjoyed it.
Yep.
It was more just like you're away from home. You're not in Queensland anymore. You're like, I love the Gold Coast. I'm from the Gold Coast. I love Queensland. I want to be in Queensland.
Miserable weather.
Whereas you go to New Zealand, it's cold. You got to wear jackets everywhere. Just little things like that. They're tiny things. Anyway, so they offered the deal. And so my manager rang me. I said, yeah, that sounds good. Sounds very exciting. They got a side that was killing at this stage. Like, you got Manu Vatuvei. I think Stacey Jones was coming back as well.
Oh,
like,
wow.
just this side that was killing it. Then the next week, things go even better the next week playing. So I haven't signed anything. I haven't said to them that I'm going or anything. I've just said to my manager, yeah, sweet. And then bigger offers started coming through. And,
Oh, wow.
yeah, much bigger offers. And, Broncos were all of a sudden,
They're keen.
yeah, we're keen. They were still keen to keep me, but they were more like, maybe we can pay you more.
Yep.
I remember even, Wayne sat me down. He said, if you want to come Dragons, I'll take you.
Oh, wow.
And so he said, like, respect to the process. If you've got a thing done with Warriors and all that. Anyway, so that all happened. So way bigger offers, much more interest. But at that stage, and I'm still, even though it, probably wasn't the best league decision, I'm still happy with the decision because I said no. I'd give him my word. I said yes. I said yes, and who am I to just go, nah. Now, all of a sudden, people want me. And so I said no to Wayne Bennett to go to the Dragons. I said no to all these, other clubs. I said no to the Broncos. I went to the Warriors, and, yeah, it didn't work out. But
How long did you spend over there? A year and a bit, wasn't it?
nah, just a year. Just a year.
And then you
So
come back?
I actually, when I got over there, I was playing really good
Yeah.
footy. But then the whole, like, the thing with wingers is, like, especially smaller wingers, if the team's not going good, you're pretty much like not going to play good footy.
Yeah.
Like because you're not going to be able to make the 250 meters.
You need to be on the front foot.
You need to be the front. If you're a finisher,
Yeah.
you need to be front. And also, Manu Vatuvei is their finisher. And if I had known rugby league better, I would have said, mate, you're never going to get the ball.
Yeah.
It's Manu Vatuvei on the other side. Of
That's
course
it.
he's getting the ball. But no one said that to me. And I didn't know.
Well, you come young kid. You just knew the
I
game
just
when you're
come
17.
off a crazy
Yeah.
year as well. So I'm like 21 years old. My mental headspace was terrible.
Yep.
I didn't put myself forward in the right
Mhm.
way. I was in all the wrong spaces. Like,
Yep.
So it's all my responsibility. Why? You go back. I didn't actually play that bad. Like, I joke about it all the time. I just didn't play great.
You weren't happy in yourself.
Yeah,
I've been there. I was Mayor Bulldogs, mate.
It just I wasn't like dropping the ball every run or anything like that.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, like, and then there was some other things too. Like, I got dropped, and then they said that I'd be next up. They said go back and work hard. I did. I went back and played really well in New South Wales Cup. Then they brought someone else up onto the wing instead of me, and I felt a bit betrayed by that.
Yes.
But again, when you're young and you don't have the right advice and people around you,
It's hard.
you're just thinking, you said that I would. And so I went and did my part instead of having some mentor going, listen, don't worry about all that stuff. Just go out and rip and tear.
Back yourself.
It'll take care of itself. And so, yeah, so I ended up actually coming back to the Broncos.
Yep.
Which was funny because I actually had agreed to terms with the Bulldogs.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. For a much like bigger deal. And all of a sudden it like fell through. My manager's like, oh no, they're no longer interested. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's already agreed to terms. Like, anyway, then my manager had another player that was a winger that ends up signing with the Bulldogs.
That hurts.
And then they're like, all right, well, you're probably gonna have to stay at the Warriors. Because I already had a year to go on the Warriors. So, anyway. And I was like, man, what's going on here? Because he said to me that Broncos weren't interested.
Yep.
And I was like, that doesn't make any sense because the Broncos said to me, anytime you want to come back, we want you back, please.
Yep.
We love you. So I had to ring the Broncos myself and say,
Wow.
I don't care what it takes. Please get me back. This is home for me.
Yep.
Because that's why I took the Bulldogs deal.
Okay.
Because I was told the Broncos weren't interested.
Ah.
So I rang the Broncos myself and said, mate, like you guys said whenever I could come back, I would come back. He's had me. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, Well, I've been told that you're not interested. They said, mate, we're 100% interested. We'd love to have you back.
The big lesson out of that is the old player managers.
Yeah.
Yes. And like you said, they had the winger go to Canterbury.
Yeah, exactly. And not all player managers are like this, guys.
but
It's just there's some
That's
of
your
them.
own experience.
Well, look, put it this way: players managers' incentive is to make money.
And the other thing is, you're not the only winger they've got on their books.
Yeah. Anyway, so I do that deal. I get back to Brisbane, and I'm playing. Well, everything's better. Like
Yep.
I'm home. I'm in Queensland. I'm just happy again. I'm around my family, and fought my way back into the side. Made my way back into the round one side against the Cowboys in 2010. Scored the match winner there. Things were going great. Boom. Round 3, broke 6 ribs. My lung collapses,
Oh, Jesus.
and then from there on out, everything just kind of.
Just plateaued a bit.
Well, from there, then there was rushing back, and then kind of being told mate, you just need to toughen up, and then, but then finding out that hey, I've getting a scan at the end of the year, and I found out that I actually had a broken rib the whole time, so I was actually I was taking needles to play. They were wearing off at the 60th minute, just all that stuff. So I'm not unique in that. Every league NRL player's experienced it, and that's when I started to get really disillusioned and kind of felt like, and as I said, now being the age I am, I would have said, mate, don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
Just rip in. Just do you're good enough to play NRL. You just do that.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I felt betrayed. I felt kind of like I had been let down.
Which did you do?
Yeah, when you're young, and it's very easy for people watching to go, older people watching go, mate, just rip and tear. It's like, mate, this isn't just a business to a footy player. Like they love the club, they love their teammates. Like it means more than just a pay packet. Yeah. Like I had a big contract that I could have stayed at the Warriors with.
100%.
I went back to the Broncos. So I think the next year at the Warriors, it went up, I think, an extra 20, 30 grand. So
wow.
you're looking at 100, I think it's 140 New Zealand. So let's say 120.
That's for a winger back.
That's for a winger back in those days. I went back to the Broncos for 50 grand, no match payments.
Wow.
So, and I understand the audience doesn't know that. I get that. And as I said, I'm not some victim and this happens all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think when you're older, you start to realize this happens all the time and it's just a business. Anyway, so I go back and that ribs break, and then, I re-sign again with the Broncos, and they say, well, there's no money in your salary cap. Can you please sign for unders, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I will. Yes, so, all that stuff.
Yep.
And then, just long story short, just so many things happened that.
Because didn't you find your way down to the Dragons as well?
Yeah, so I re-signed with the Broncos, and then new coach comes in, and there were certain things agreed to, and they didn't actually come through on those certain things that were agreed to, and then the pressure started for me to leave because they didn't want to come through with the things that they agreed to, which is just typical rugby league. So I actually went down to rugby union, the Rebels, Melbourne Rebels. Yeah. No. So I went to. So basically, I let them know all right. I rang them before this, so they were basically pushing me out. I rang them and I said, boys, I want to stay. Don't worry about all that other stuff. I want to stay. All I want is a fair crack at playing NRL. Yep. Now, there's the Melbourne Rebels in Union. So at this stage, I was like, you know what? League at the moment, I love the Broncos. I don't want to play for another club at the moment. Maybe I'll go play Union and I can travel the world or whatever. And so the Melbourne Rebels are interested. I said to them, look, the Melbourne Rebels are interested, but I want to let you know that I want to stay. I don't need that extra stuff.
Yep.
I just want a fair crack at it. And they said to me, mate, you should take the deal. I said, okay. I've got a medical with them on our day off. Is it okay if I go down? Yes, it's okay if you go down. I go down, do the medical. Yep, they're keen. Everything's good. Decent contract. Ring back up. And I say, mate, yep, it's all done. The only thing they asked us is do not leak anything to the media in the next 24 hours because they need to get the go-ahead from the directors for everything.
Yep.
Literally the next morning, quoted in the paper, them saying that I'm leaving to the Melbourne Rebels. Not the Melbourne Rebels, the Broncos saying that I'm leaving.
Oh,
so,
my God.
So that deal falls through. Then I'm on the way back into training. Then they ring me up and they're like, mate, we're going to send you back to reserve grade because you heading down to Melbourne, we feel like you're not committed to the squad. I was like, what?
Oh, God.
And so just that kind of stuff. As I said, I'm not the first one. I won't be the last one.
It just hurts when it's you, but.
Yeah, and you just feel like, man, I'd play for free for this club. I love this club.
And the thing that probably hurts you the most is you've done everything the right way.
I know.
You didn't sneak off and go down to Rebels. No. You got the approval.
You know what? I had a conversation like a man. And you'd be surprised at the amount of people in positions of power in rugby league that can't have conversations.
No, man, that's the problem with this game at times.
Yeah. Anyway, so that happens, and so I'm devastated, but get back to reserve grade. Then rugby sevens say they're interested. And I'm like, you know what? Travel the world, how good? Went to rugby sevens. Rugby sevens were great, like a great organisations, really good people. I just didn't enjoy it at all. Like
Is that training hard?
well, at this stage, back then, you're essentially training by yourself.
Oh,
So they
wow.
give you a program.
Yep.
And so I'm missing the boys and,
Mm.
all that. And it's just a lot of fitness. So the best players in sevens aren't necessarily the most athletic. They're the ones that are
fit.
willing to be fit.
Yeah.
Obviously there are athletic players. I'm not saying there aren't, but it's just a lot of it is just a lot of running.
Yep.
Rather than the fun stuff.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I just didn't enjoy it, which means I wasn't playing good, which means I was disconnected. I was still in that bad relationship. And yeah, so brushed that, got the opportunity at the Dragons, and at this stage, so much damage had been done.
Yeah.
My mental health was just like terrible.
You're just playing footy for the sake of it.
Like it's just terrible. Like my headspace is just completely wrecked, and I'm just this young guy that's kind of only 5 years into this game, going, "What is happening?"
How hard is, like, when your headspace, like you said, you're wrecked, how much of an effort is training, isn't it? Like, just getting yourself going every day.
Yeah, and just like you just in the times when you need to enjoy it, like in the time when happiness needs to get you through, where when I say happiness, I mean when you run onto that footy field and you go, fuck, yeah, this is mad.
This is unreal.
You don't have that feeling anymore,
No.
so you can't get through it. So when I'm running onto a New South Wales Cup field,
You're just ticking a box.
I'm just like, all right, I'm here to play. I'm not actually happy. I actually don't want to be here, but it's my job, so I'm going to try to do it as best I can.
Yeah.
And yeah, so anyway, so that happens. Terrible, play terrible, everything's bad. I quit. Then, like January, so I quit that season. January rolls around, so I'm not doing anything. Get a call from the Broncos again.
Oh, no way.
Going,
Third time lucky.
Mate, would you like to come back? I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing anything else. I love the Broncos. I've always loved the Broncos. Yep, sweet. So I go back up, move back up from the gong. Actually go back and play really well. Like, getting good nick.
You're happy again.
Yeah, I'm happy again. Everything's good. You know what? I've learnt a lot. And then, so I fight my way back into the first grade side, get named. And then, so I get named. It's been 1,000 days since I've played, all this hoopla. The parents are coming up. What an incredible moment. And like 2 days before the game, he's like, oh, no, actually, I'm going to go with someone else. And I was just like,
you're kidding.
And so I was just like, man, I think I'm done here. And then
you don't need this bullshit.
I was just like, look, that's when I really had to sit down and go, what is really the difference between 100 NRL games and 50 NRL games?
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, for sure. Like, don't get me wrong, great achievement. And you played 100 NRL games. But when someone says you're an NRL player and I'm an NRL player, it's the same thing.
We've all played one.
And also, like, it wasn't like I had a career where I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I had big moments and so whatever. So I was like, you know what? I can sit here as a 25, 26, and battle my way back into first grade, be on minimum contracts for the rest of my life.
Yep.
And this is also when all the brain trauma stuff was coming out, CTE.
Ah.
And so I'm just like, it's just not worth it for me. Like, I know I can. I've proven that I can. I got up off a couch, got back in within like 2 months. And so I was like, you know what? I'm done. Now, don't get me wrong. Doesn't mean my mental headspace was like good. It was still terrible. So I started my Sparky mature age apprenticeship.
Oh, so that's another thing I wanted to ask you. What was the thought of retirement like going in? Because you've had nothing behind you, so you've gone straight to a Sparky trade.
Yeah, and it wasn't, mate. I'm not thinking retirement. Like I quit. It wasn't like, oh, I'm retired. It was like a bitter quit. Like I quit from this game.
Yep.
I'm off it. I can't believe this has happened the way it has. As I said, an older head now would looking back and go, focus on the positives, not the negatives. Focus on all the great stuff. Anyway. So I just went and got a mature age apprenticeship, and that was purely because I was like, as a man, you need to get a job, you need to get a profession. I didn't want to do it. Like, I didn't enjoy it.
You can't sit on your ass and just think it's going to happen.
Some loser just sitting there, not even trying to make stuff happen.
So did you finish your Sparky trade?
Got 3 years in, and then I was like, I'm done because obviously the podcast took off.
So when you're doing the Sparky trade, right? This is the one I love to know. The podcast. So before Bloke and a Bar come along, it was the locker room.
Yeah.
And where was that based out of Wollongong?
Yeah.
So you've come back from Brisbane to Wollongong?
Yeah, so Nathan Fiend offered me to play with the Butchers, the Royal Butchers.
Oh, the Royal, nice.
Yeah. So, but if you, we'll give you a job as well.
Oh, beautiful.
So I was like, you know what? Yeah, local league, bit of fun. Still get to enjoy it. And obviously get the, the Sparky job with ARA Electrical, which is a fantastic company, by the way. Like, they were so good to me. So good. And so I get down there, and like 2 weeks into, literally 2 weeks into getting down there and playing like with the Butchers, they go, actually, we're doing a living away from home. You got to work away from home in Marulan, Goulburn. And I rang Feeney. I'm like, mate, I'm so sorry, but like, mate, I'm not living away from home and traveling back to train and then playing on the weekend.
So how long did they want you to do that for?
I think that was a couple of years, that project, maybe a year or so.
Yuck.
And so we would live in Goulburn for the week, and
Yep.
then on the weekend we would drive home back to the Wollongong.
Yep.
And I just said, Feeney, like, mate, I feel bad, and I understand if you're pissed off, but like, I'm not living out in Goulburn, driving back on a Thursday, training, going to TAFE on Friday, then playing. Like, it's just not what I come down here for. If I was working in Gong, like, it's a different story.
Good as gold.
And he was actually really understanding. And ARA Electrical, funnily enough, because I thought that if I didn't play for the Butchers, I thought ARA would say, well, you're not going to have a job. But like, no, you're an employee now. Like, we want you here. And yeah, so I did that. I was working in Marulan. Above ground mine.
And then so what goes through Denan Kemp's mind to come up with this locker room podcast? Like, did you ever think it would take off like it did? And was there aspects that you wanted it to take off, or you just wanted to get and have chats with players?
Mate, so basically, when I would work in Marulan, and don't do this, OH&S, you'll get actually slaughtered for this. I had, so cold, mate. It's so friggin' cold in Marulan. Like, we're talking, you're wearing balaclavas and that, like, gloves.
Well, one of the people I work with at Triple M, Anthony Maroon, his daughter lives there.
Yeah.
So he goes down there.
Mate, ask him. Freezing. Anyway, so, working. And so what I would do is I'd have my beanie on, hard hat on, and I'd have wireless headphones underneath.
Yep.
So you couldn't see, but while I'm working, and I'm an apprentice, so I'm doing all the real just pulling cable, cutting ties, just shit work. Yeah. So I'm just listening to podcasts all day.
Oh wow,
that's what I was doing. I was like, I'm just going to listen to podcasts all day.
Do you remember your first one you listened to?
Probably like Sam Harris or Joe Rogan, I think.
Yeah, Joe Rogan was the man.
Tim Ferriss as well.
Yep.
Ferriss,
yeah, nice.
And yeah, so I did that, and I was always like, man, I'd love to do this myself. And I've always been really intrigued with the idea of, like, when you walk through a city, every person you walk past, all the emotions, all the conflicts, all the dramas you've had in your life, they've had that too. Like, it's just like crazy to think that you think that you're so insulated, like, in your own thoughts, that you're the only one going through what you're going through. But it actually, and so I was always really intrigued with that. I felt like everyone had a story to tell. And then I was like, well, okay, if I start a podcast like that and it's just interviewing anyone, then I'm competing with the world, like Joe Rogan. So why would I do that? What is my point of difference? Well, there's no podcast in rugby league. I know some of the boys. And also, I feel like, league players were pretty misunderstood at that stage. I feel like it's quite changed dramatically. I think a lot of people don't remember. Mate, early 2000s, like even like early 2010s, footy players were kind of like, oh, he's a footy player. Like, it was a negative thing.
Yeah,
it was a stigma around
one,
it.
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there still is a little bit of a stigma, but I do think that people have gone, oh, no, he's just a, and look, I understand it. Like, it's such an aggressive, violent sport, and that's all you see of them for 80 minutes. You're going to assume that guy's a maniac. Anyway, so yeah, I was like, you know what, I'll let people know what these footy players are really like, having been a thing. And yeah, that's when I started it.
And who was the first one that you got on your locker room podcast chat?
Bo Ryan.
Oh,
the great Bo Ryan, which I forever am grateful for. He was at the height of his power at this stage, and he's still.
So was he still playing at this time?
I think so, or he may have just become full time at Footy Show. I'm not sure. I think
he was flying back.
Mate, he was the biggest name in sport. Like, people like Bo Ryan in those years were like literally the biggest name in sport.
And like Bo Nose, everyone just knew Bo Nose.
Everyone knew Bo Nose. Like, he was mainstream. Anyway, so yeah, I'm so grateful that he did, because I was mates with him, met him through the other boys, the Dragons boys, because he lived down in Gong at that stage. In the first interview, it was so bad. Like, I had, because I couldn't afford like actual cameras.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what I'll do? I'll get 2 laptops and I'll attach webcams to them.
Stop it.
Yeah. And so one webcam's facing me, one webcam's facing him.
What about your voice? Because you got to have the microphone. Did you have a microphone, or just talking to laptop?
No, I had a microphone. I put everything on a credit card.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, everything was on a credit card. I think it ended up being about $5-6 grand, which I didn't have. Obviously, it was on a freaking credit card. And I was a mature age apprentice.
Yep.
And yeah, got started there. And
what was the feedback like after the first episode?
It was just so new. People didn't really know how to take it. People loved it.
Yep.
People loved it. But it was just so new. Like, I mean, I remember when I asked Bo, like, you want to come on the podcast? He's like, what's a podcast?
Yeah.
And like, even for the first few years, people were like, what's a podcast? What do you mean? So yeah, the feedback was good. And then I just kind of grind away with that for a few years. And
like, how was the initial part of asking players to come on your podcast? Did you have to sort of sell yourself?
Not really. Like, I would always just say, hey mate, like, would you love to jump on the podcast? it's just a chat about your life. Anything that you don't want in it or deleted, it gets deleted. We can delete the whole interview if you want, so there's no worry about saying anything wrong. Totally sweet. If not, mate, just thought I'd ask a question. And yeah, there was like, you'd be surprised at the amount of blokes like, you know what? Yeah, sweet, I'll come on. I was just really lucky, man, really lucky. And I think that if you've played NRL for enough games, most NRL players, like, there is a connection there.
Oh,
There's
100%.
a connection. So like, you're one of us. Yeah, I'll do that for you, bro.
Yeah, you'll look after your own.
Yeah, 100%. So I was really lucky in that sense.
And then, so like, when was the point when you had to give up the Sparky trade and actually have a decent crack at the podcasting?
Yeah, so I think it would have been like maybe 2 years into the podcast or a year and a half or something like that.
Yep.
Got offered a sponsorship from a company called Moneyball,
Okay.
which was like fantasy league, I think.
Yeah, yep.
Or,
Are they still around?
And I think they sold.
Yep.
And yeah, so I got offered it's like a 3-month deal, and it was not enough money, but I was just like, nah, stuff it. I'm out. I'm doing it. I'm going all in. Everyone's like, mate. And look, everyone that was telling me not to do it, that's right. Like, the chances are, be safe, finish your apprenticeship, then come back and do it. But I was like, nah, I'm all in. I'm just doing it. And I did that with league when I went all into league, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, nah, I'm all in. And don't get me wrong, there's some very bumpy roads. Like, it's only been this last year or two where sponsorships of podcasts have really actually started to begin to happen. Yeah, for sure. Like, mate, like, companies, even to this right now, like, I can show you data where we've made companies over $1 million of revenue. Like, I can show you that.
No way.
Yeah, 100%. And even now, companies are still a bit like, ooh, podcasting. Like, what is that? Like, podcasting is the most engaged advertising by a mile.
I was about to say, do you think podcast is going to overtake like mainstream media and all that sort of stuff now?
Look, there's too much money and too much power. So I don't think necessarily it will take it over. But what will happen is that, okay, let's say, we'll take out all the conspiracies or whatever, and we'll just talk about, okay, let's say you owned a business, and let's say your business, you owned 40% of mainstream media, and you had billions of dollars. You would just sit there and go, okay, I'm going to see how this plays out. Then if it starts eating too much into my mainstream, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to buy it.
Yep.
Just going to buy it. And then I'm going to start putting ads on that. And so I don't think it'll ever take it over. It'll just join.
So, like, if someone ever come up, say Fox 9, 7, 10, do you ever reckon it'll get to a period where they go, look, this bloke is just absolutely flying on his podcast on the online? Do we make a time slot for him on a weekly segment on a TV show?
I mean, maybe, but like, if I'm being honest, we do better numbers than a lot of the TV shows.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Wow.
We average about 80,000 downloads per Monday show.
So just for a Monday show?
Just a Monday show. Yeah, about 250,000 downloads a week.
Wow. So and like, I don't know the downloads and all that.
Yeah,
I suppose when you first started, what was your goal? Did you have a goal of a certain amount of downloads?
Mate, when we first started, I was getting about 500 downloads.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 300, 200, 400.
Wow.
Like, nothing.
So there's one for you guys. Just hang in there.
Just keep turning up. That's literally Bloke's motto is turn up.
Just
turn
keep
up a family,
showing up,
mate.
eh?
Literally just keep turning up. That's the... People think there's this magic and like, oh, there must be this genius idea. There really isn't. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people have it and some people don't. It's just like athleticism, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, if I always say, like, okay, let's say you want to start a podcast right now or any venture.
Yep.
And you can get, I'll be really concerned, you can get 10,000 people interested. They do studies that they extrapolate from with less than a size of 10,000 people, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
So, for example, they might go out and ask 1,000 people,
see what?
Let's talk about dating. Have you ever cheated on a partner?
Yep.
Then they might come back and say 45% of the people said they did. So we can extrapolate that out into population.
Yeah.
And so what I mean by that is like, with podcasting, if 10,000, let's just say 5,000, if 5,000 people love that podcast, the rest of the population is not that different to that 5,000 people.
100%, yeah.
They are just people like you. So, like, if you've got 5,000 people that are really enjoying it, it's just a matter of time before more people enjoy it. Because once you get past a certain sample size, humans aren't that different.
Yeah.
And so, like with anything, like with a business or whatever, it's just a matter of hanging in there, and eventually you'll hit that extra, the wider audience, because the wider audience isn't that, like, for example, we'll just go to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
That 1,000 people, they all watch the same movies, the same shows, They all listen to the same content.
reality shows.
You know what I'm saying? So they're
Yep.
all relatively similar.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can engage like 5 to 10,000, then you pretty much have engaged the widest spread of personality type.
Yep.
You will be able to eventually get out into the mainstream.
And then they'll tell one person, which leaks to another.
Yeah.
How, so we spoke about Bloke in a Bar at the start of the show.
Mm.
You've got the locker room. How does Bloke in a Bar start?
Yeah, so Bloke in a Bar starts basically. So Sandor Earl came to me and said, "Mate, I love what you're doing.
Yep.
I'd love to, we should do a show of us talking about rugby league." And I was I thought about doing a show. That was the most obvious thing.
Was this why Sandor was playing or why he had time off?
No, I had time off.
Time off, yep.
And so, obviously, it was an obvious, I'd always thought about doing a show where I talked about rugby league, but I just felt I wasn't confident enough yet. I didn't want to rip into the boys. I didn't want to be one of the ex-players that just smashes the boys.
Yeah.
Because, that was, in locker rooms, that's like cardinal sin. When you walk in and the boys go, "Mate, did you see such and such
Last night
putting shit on me for having a beer? He was friggin' naked in the middle of the street when he was playing, and he's having a crack at me. I never wanted to be that guy."
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't confident in what I was saying. Anyway, so he came to me. I said, "You know what? Let me come up with a show, Shandor. Let me come up with a show. I'll edit it. I'll produce it. I'll send all the equipment to you, and all you got to do is you can talk about it." So I went back. I thought about the show name and got everything ready. And I was like, you know what? It'd be a sick name. It just come to me randomly, Bloke in a Bar.
Really? So just come to you?
Just come to me randomly. Went back to him. I said, "I got the show for you. It's Bloke in a Bar." He was a bit like, "Oh, okay."
Oh.
Anyway, so basically I would say to him, "Mate, just go and find a random bar and film yourself and then send the video footage to me. I'll send you the cameras and that. You send the footage to me and I'll edit it and put it up." And then that's how Bloke in a Bar started, of talking about footy.
So he just started speaking about topics himself?
Sandor, Dural, and Eric Groth. So I would send them all cameras and that, and say, even give them topics as well, and then they would send it back to me. Then eventually, everyone got a bit too busy to do it, and I'd already committed to it, so I was like, you know what, I'll do it with just Sandor, me and him. And then eventually he got back into footy, so he was a bit too busy. So I was like, I'll just keep doing it myself.
And so how was it taken off at the start with those three blokes?
Yeah, it was good. People really enjoyed it. Yeah,
Yep.
we had some really good numbers in the live shows, live on Facebook.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, people enjoyed it.
So you obviously said that they got a little bit busy.
Yep.
What was the moment that made you think, well, I've got to, this is my thing, I've got to take control?
Yeah, well, from the get-go, because it was my idea. Is I was doing everything, so it was my thing, and they were more just kind of like.
Well, did you think when you didn't get on it the first time with those three blokes that you sort of missed, maybe I should be on this?
No, not really. And so they would do it individually each.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. No, not really. Because in my head, it was all my thing anyway, because I was the one that, I came up with the idea in regards to the name and the blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I come on with Sandor. And then when Sandor left, I was like, I've started something now. Bloke in a Bar was started. We got to keep going. And yeah, just kept going from there.
And so was that based in a bar that you had up in the Gold Coast?
No, that was before that. I built a set in my lounge room.
Oh, so it's in your own lounge room?
Yeah, it's in my lounge room. I built this setup. And me and Sandor, because we thought that, to be taken seriously, we had to wear button-up shirts. We would wear button-up shirts.
Oh, we got to get some pictures for socials to put it on.
Oh, mate, I'll send it to you.
And then but I remember there was a bar on the Gold Coast.
Yeah. So that come about. So everything was going really well. We'd actually launched a beer, Bloke in a Bar beer, because the Bloke in a Bar name was also came with the beer as well.
Yep.
And so basically. My brother, he had a bar. He opened a Spanish tapas bar with a business partner. It didn't work. He was in a bit of trouble. I was like, can't let me brother, because my brother's a doctor, so he's got another job, but he was just, investing in the bar. I can't let me bloody brother just lose all that money. So I said, look, I'll come up. I'll steady the ship. In exchange, you come on with Bloke in a Bar, so you own part of Bloke in a Bar as well.
Yep.
And went up there, worked me ring off, and. Yeah, it was tough. It was really tough. Hospitality is tough.
Really
tough. Yeah.
So you went back to live up on the Goldie for a bit?
Yeah, went back up to live in Goldie, but yeah, it was that they were probably the toughest times because 100%, because the bar when I rocked up, it owed a lot of money.
Yep.
As in didn't owe a lot of money as in regards to months and months had passed and people were chasing up, but it's just debts were coming bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Overheads were coming bigger and bigger.
Yep.
So it wasn't like some dude hadn't been paid for a year or whatever. It was just oh shit, it's all, we owe last month's rent to the centre, we owe this here, we owe, you know what I mean? So it was just like that.
Yep.
And it was beginning to pile up. And so my job was to come in and make it pile back down.
Yeah.
And so, came in, and that was a really tough period because basically, so I was living in my family's home that I grew up in,
Yep.
and they were living in their parents' home.
Did they have any more reception there now?
Yeah, we had internet there now and Foxtel as well. And so they were living in their parents' home. But the problem is that they had someone in there renting before, and then they were using that money to live, the rent money, because we didn't grow up with any money or anything like that. But because the bar was like in such bad shape, like I wasn't earning any wage from it, so I wasn't paying any rent. So that started putting a lot of pressure on the whole family because they didn't have any money, then I didn't have any money. And I got really, really desperate there at one stage, and then a guy walks in, an accountant. He says just randomly, So at this stage, like I've balanced it much better than what it was. At one point, it was like going to be
you pulled it all back.
But we're going nowhere. Like at this point,
just breaking even, mate.
Just pulled it back so that we're not just dying,
Yep.
Anyway, so guy, just on a random day, quiet day, this guy walks in and he's just like, "Hey mate, how you going? Yeah, good." Sits down, I give him a beer. Anyway, like for some reason, I don't know why, but like no one was. It was a quiet day. It was during like in the like a Thursday day or something like that, and me and him just started talking, having a yarn. Anyway, it was kind of just like, "Hey mate, would you ever be interested in getting investment into your beer and that?" And I was just like, "I mean, I guess, like I don't know, like maybe." And I wasn't even going to take his card. Like I was just going to be like, whatever. So he gives me his card. I'm like, "Yep, sweet." And he goes, "Text us your number because I'm an accountant for a guy that he invests in things."
Yep.
And I was like, "All right, when you've played rugby league, the amount of like
Gibberish.
nonsense gibberers you've met, it's actually ridiculous.
Yep.
Like you'd be shocked at the amount of people like, "Oh, I know this guy, I know that guy, I've got this amount of cash," and you're just like, "Yeah, okay, mate." So that's where I was at.
Yep.
I'm sitting there going like, "Yeah, okay, mate, whatever." And so eventually get a call from his name's John, and we start talking.
Yeah.
He buys a part of the company, invests in the company, and the rest is history.
So before that, where's the idea to come with your own beer, with your own lager?
Well, so it was just so I'd always kind of looked at it and said, okay, if I can build a platform up. So this was basically the plan from the start. Let's say the podcast doesn't succeed and I only get, I'm doing it for 2 years and I get like 1,000 downloads or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, I can advertise my electrical company on it as a Sparky. That was my like.
Well, it's a plan.
It's a plan.
Yeah.
So that's the B plan, and then the A plan was if this blows up, I've got a platform that I can launch products off.
Yep.
Because like I looked at it, I'm like, advertising wasn't in podcasting then. I can't do this for free. Like I know content on the internet is free, guys, but people can't do it for free. It costs a lot of money.
You need to,
Anyway, so I was like, but one thing, especially in retail, the biggest spend is marketing spend.
Yep.
Like the hardest thing. You'll ask any retail company, what's the hardest thing? They'll be like, just getting our name out there, just getting our existence out there. So I was like,
exposure.
Exposure. And it costs so much money. So I was like, if I could build my own podcast, that cost is zero. Like it's free. Well, technically isn't, but basically it's free.
Yeah.
And so, I built that up, and because it exploded, I was like, well, our beer is the perfect product. Like rugby league beer, it's like match made in heaven.
Yep.
And that's how that started.
That's so crazy. And then like, not just your beer, but you've got your merch.
Yep.
I've just seen recently your new jerseys have dropped.
New
They're
jersey.
outstanding.
Thank you.
But like the rapid, how quick they drop. That's the thing. Like I remember I went to buy one time, a shirt, and there was like none left.
Yeah.
Like, did you think it would sell out as quick as they have?
Mate, I remember the first drop we ever did was just a normal shirt with Bloke written across the front. And I remember, we dropped it. And at this stage, like, I'm not even thinking about, like, I'm in a very different mind state here. I'm just more in the content rather than the business side of things. We drop it, and I wake up the next morning, and I check Spotify, and I look at it, and I rang the guy that was helping me, as in, like, he was helping me package it and that.
Yeah, yep. So, yeah.
And I rang him, I'm like, mate, there's a mistake on the Shopify. Like, this is we're sold out, and there's I think it was about 50 grand or something. I was like, there's been a mistake on the Spotify. The Shopify. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, it says there's 50 grand there. And he's like, yeah, that's how much we sold. I was like, what?
So you didn't plan for so you just had a certain amount and that was it? Like
I was just doing it from like, obviously, cool. If we make a bit of money, that's great.
Yeah.
But I just didn't think people loved the brand that much. Like I couldn't believe it. I remember the first time where I fully hit me, I think it was like 2019. When was it was the Raiders versus Roosters? 2019.
Yep, 19, yep.
I went to a festival around that grand final, because I love festivals. I don't go out that much, but if I go out,
So you like the dance and
like just the vibe. It's
Yeah.
sunny. Everyone's happy. I just love the vibe.
should
Whereas
do a
when,
bloke festival, mate.
mate, it'd be sick. I've actually thought about it. I really have thought about it. But like when you go out, everyone's angry and they're shouldering each other
Yeah.
and like, man, just chill out. Whereas festivals, everyone's happy. Anyway, so I went there, and like the love I was getting, I was going, what the hell? I cannot
Really?
I just couldn't believe it. I was like, I can't believe these people like me this much.
Yeah.
And that's when it really hit me. Like, holy, I seriously cannot believe these people like me this much.
And with the merch, like, do you get like a sense of gratitude and great feeling in yourself when you see people in the streets that you don't even know wearing a bloke shirt? Or...
Yeah. Oh, mate, 100%. Like it's strange because like in my head, like that just started from like an idea, like something intangible, something that doesn't exist, you can't touch it, but now it's on that person. I just get grateful. I still can't believe it.
And it's even awesome how you've got, like, I know you said when you first started your podcast, you wanted to have a good story on rugby league players.
Mm.
You've got rugby league players promoting your jerseys. Like, you don't just
Yep.
go out and get random models. You get the boys, you get ex-players.
Yep.
I think that's an awesome thing to see.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also what I really liked about the whole situation, like Bloke and everything, is I think there's a lot of footy players who've gone, you know what, like I can do some. It doesn't have to necessarily be in podcasting. It can be in anything, like other businesses. They can go, you know what, I can do that. Whereas I do feel like, obviously Maddie and Fatty and that broke the mold in regards to be able to do media. Like
Yep.
they were the first. Like
The
they're
guns.
never going to pretend that any different. But I do think that like a lot of footy players were like a bit scared to like start their own thing.
Oh, definitely.
To-
You know what? I think they're more scared about how they're going to be perceived.
yeah, for sure.
You broke the mold.
Maybe I think so. I don't know. Like maybe
No,
I'm
mate, you
wrong.
did.
Yeah,
You're the first one to do it.
I guess.
We all are big fans of you, mate.
Yeah.
We know you did.
So it is cool, like to see when I see boys. Like that's why whenever someone starts a new business, I always share it in Bloke
Yep.
because I'm like, fuck, mad, that's good on you, mate. Because like I know how tough it can be after footy,
Mhm.
and I know also how like the positive part of making like almost not soldiers. Like I'm not disrespecting like actual soldiers, but making us into like weapons.
Mm.
The positive part of that is we're incredible athletes, but also it does close your mind up a lot. And like what I like when I see the boys doing that, it's open up their mind, their life to see like there's so much more out there in the world than just
100%.
rugby league. Like, life has so much to give than just playing rugby league. Even though my life is rugby league, but that doesn't. It's a platform to be able to. I want to go traveling with my wife. Like I want to experience cultures. I want to take my kids certain places. And footy players do that for sure. But I think like the creative side of like opening yourself up to create something.
Yep.
Like rugby league players, there are a lot of creative rugby league players, but they're just too scared to kind of put themselves out there.
Well, I think we just get stuck in that vortex of how do people perceive us? Like, what's the coach going to say if we're putting too much time into something else and not our footy ability?
Yep, absolutely.
And I think I love what you do is your collabs, like with the Hello Sports boys.
Yeah, the boys. Yeah.
So how do those sort of eventuate? Do you reach out to them or?
Yeah, so with those boys, so I had seen their podcast and
So you didn't know these blokes from a bar or so?
I didn't know them at all.
Yep.
Didn't know them at all. So I'd seen the Tom and Eddie's podcast, and I thought these boys are what I respected that they were just having a dig. Like they weren't ex-footy players; they were just a couple of
Average Joes.
blokes just talking about sport. And
Yep.
I respected that. I really liked that. And they were talented. Like
Good man.
not just like they were genuinely talented. And so I said to them, I'd love to come on your potty to meet them. Because in my head, I was like, I want to meet these guys. I want to see their life because I'd love to, if they're good and if they want to, like maybe they'd want to keep doing their own thing. That's totally fine. I'd love to give them an opportunity. So yeah, went on the potty and just kept in touch. And then eventually I was like, you know what? Like they're super talented. I feel like they deserve an opportunity. I've got so much respect for the fact that they started from nothing and they've just been grinding. And so yeah, brought them onto the Wednesday show. Well, now it's Thursday. It was Wednesday back then.
Is that the Dirty Merger?
The Dirty Merger podcast. And they've been incredible. And like obviously bringing them to the Bloke audience helped a lot.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's their talent that got them there. So like,
It's their take on things, I reckon.
yeah, like it's so I can bring someone onto the Bloke panel, and if they're not talented, people are just going to be like, I don't care. Like,
That's it.
whereas they they took it and ran with it, built it up, and they're killing it now. And same with the great rugby league guru and
I was
Timmy
about to
and
say
Hammy.
the review show.
Yeah, the review show, which is easily our biggest show. Like it's freaking huge.
My man Hemi, the old Tigers man.
Mate, Hamiso, mate, all those blokes, like the great guru. Like I looked at,
Mate, that's one bloke that's like, I remember I was watching online a Parramatta, I think it was a media day. He had his own couch and everything there because of how much he loves Hopgood.
mate, it's the best. And it's the reason why I love, the reason why I gave like the Roo an opportunity is like, again, similar to Tom and Eddie. Like, he works his ass off. He loves rugby league.
Yep.
Like, he can, and so like, yes, the obvious option would have been, okay, go and get an ex-player and you just have an ex-player, which I did initially. But then when the more I sat down with it, I was like, yes, the quick answer is to have an ex-player there. But the long-term answer is to have the best person that knows the most about all of rugby league, not just the X's and O's, not just what it's like to be a footy player. And also, like, I know that. And so if I can help build up his profile, in 10 years, he'll be bigger than a lot of footy players. So the reason why you brought the footy player on becomes irrelevant because you're bringing the ex-footy player on for his profile. Because like a lot of footy players, they may know the game, but they're not very good at communicating the game. And so, yeah, that's why I was like, you know what? I'm going to just pick the guys that are best in class in what they do. And so Roo and Timmy, like they watch every game. Like, are they as an X's and O's and NRL player? No, they're not. But I can fill in there to a degree.
But they're giving us a bloke in a bar's perspective.
Exactly. They're giving you the random punter's perspective, but also super like they can tell you every squad member. They watch every single game. Like, for example, our Monday show, you have to watch every game, every minute of every game, every week.
Well, that's the other thing I was say. Review show, 4 hours.
Yeah.
Is that tough?
It's tough, but not compared to normal work.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not work, man.
It's not work. It's
Mate.
just, okay, I had a bit of a long yarn today. Like, pretty much, that's it. So, yeah, and they've been incredible. They've been really good, and we found a really good balance. Like, I brought Hammy on, similar to Tom and Eddie. I just thought comedically he's really talented. And I felt with the show, I was like, with Timmy and Roo, they're so... Like, don't get me wrong, they can have a laugh, better than, but actually creating the humour, they're so focused on footy. That's not their talent. And so I was with Hammy. The reason why I like bringing him on is because when we need to bounce off each other to just lighten things up a little bit, he's really, really good. So the way I try to do it is like I'll give you, maybe 20 to 30 minutes of like real serious stuff and a joke. Now it's not like it's not like a stand-up joke, like
but just little
lighten things up, get you laughing again, relax a bit, and then back into the flow of things. And I think Hammy's really helped with that, and he's super, super like crazy talented. And then obviously Matty the Water Boy, he's just my right-hand man.
Well, he was my right-hand man before you, mate. he was with Origin. He was our camera guy.
Yeah, I know.
And we used to bring him, me and Big Clem, we used to bring him everywhere. And he's moved on to bigger and better things. He doesn't want to talk to us anymore, the Water Boy.
Tell the people. Oh man,
mate.
Clip that up.
But you know what? You know what I love about it, right? When I was in Vegas with the footy, I seen all those blokes on the sideline, and mate, I feel like I knew them. I went up to them, "Hey boys, how you going?" Like, just having, and they're sort of like a little bit, and I'm like, "Nah, watch the potties every week, boys." Like, feels like I'm actually like we're best mates.
Yeah, I know. It's and as like someone that does a podcast, initially when that happens, you're kind of like, oh, but then you sit back and go, well, hang on a sec. Like, this bloke probably hears me talk more than he hears his best mate talk.
Yeah,
he listens to a friggin' 4-hour podcast on a Monday. Wednesday potty with Cam Smith. You know what I mean? Like,
man, I see him more than I see him with missus at home because I'm always on my phone. I'm watching them, whether it's clips or whether I'm listening to Spotify in the car.
Yeah, nah. So they're all great, mate, and they're great for bloke, but at the same time they got their own thing.
Yep,
they're building their own thing, and they deserve respect for building their own thing. They're not just bloke.
Exactly.
They've got their own thing.
And that's what I love. You've sort of you've gave them you've let them do their thing, but you've also brought them in under your house as well, and you're trying to help them out as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that look, I understand there are companies out there that, actually create a business around bringing people in and becoming talent. And look, maybe one day we'll do that. But at this stage, I just wanted to give them a chance. And I didn't want to, you got to sign this contract. You've got to do this, whatever. It was more just like, mate, you're super talented. No one ever gave me an opportunity. I had to do this all myself. So I always promised myself when it comes to podcasting and talent, if I saw someone that I respected and was doing really well, I would love to give them an opportunity because, there were periods there where I would go to some of the big networks and if they had have offered me minimum $50,000 a year,
you would have been boom.
I remember I had one meeting where I literally gave them all my ideas. I was like, here's all the ideas, mate. This is what I'd love to do, rah rah. And this is when the bar was we needed money. I had no money. And they were like, oh, sorry, mate. We were just asking if you wanted to put the locker room on our network for free. And I was like. And so, I sent emails to every network, pretty much no response.
But that's this is persistence, and look where it's got you now.
Yeah, and look, I'm not going to pretend that'll teach them. Not at all. They got jobs. They got so much stuff going on.
Yeah,
they get a random email from a guy that played friggin' 40 NRL games. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
So I understand it, but at the same, from my perspective, Like, I did all that. I sent all emails. I tried to get on board with all that stuff, and I couldn't get a gig. Couldn't get a gig.
Well, one thing, like you spoke about, like obviously trying to send out to the TV shows. With one of the things, like, what was the demo group that you were trying to,
Mm.
encourage to watch your show?
Mate, I wasn't really thinking about demos.
No?
No, like that wasn't in my mindset. My mindset was I want to get league players' stories out there. I want to get athletes' stories out there. That
Yeah.
was all I was thinking. Like, obviously now I'm more business minded and I've learned so much, and you've got to look at demographics and what appeals to certain people. But to begin with, it was genuinely I want audiences to know these are real human beings that are good. Most of them are good blokes.
Because it's funny, like so many males and females
Mm.
are into the bloke. Like
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
I just think that I think a lot of people like as long as you don't get too up your own ass, like
Yeah.
a lot of people really appreciate that. I think it's when you start carrying on and thinking you're better than people, and also not giving them the respect they deserve as an audience. I think a lot of people sometimes can kind of feel like disconnected from it. Whereas I understand how lucky I am. I understand that my opinion is just another opinion. Like
Yep.
my opinion is not better than anyone else or anything like that. Um, and I also understand that, like, I do feel like people sometimes get in these positions where they forget the audience made you.
Yeah.
Like, especially in my situation, like if you come onto a network and that, and I'm not disrespecting any network or whatever, but if you come onto a network, a certain person has greenlit you, then you've been put on a platform that already exists, so that people that consume that platform, they have no choice but to consume you. Which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Whereas in my situation, it was literally purely from the audience going, you know what? I want to listen to that. They'd have to actively choose to come and listen to Bloke. And so I always remember that I am there because of them. I do owe them something. People go, oh, I don't owe my audience anything. I don't know, the Bloke. I do. I literally do.
You
So-
started from zero.
literally started from
Yeah.
zero. So to suggest that I don't owe the audience the respect they deserve is mental. That's mental stuff. Like, I don't know why that mindset has ever gotten out where it's like, oh yeah, but I do the work though, so I don't owe anyone anything. It's like, bro, I get
You
to
do.
live an incredible life
Yeah.
because of the audience. And it's, you know what? As soon as the audience doesn't want me to, guess what goes away? The incredible life. So you've
Yeah.
always got to respect that, I think.
That's such a good take, and it sort of just takes ego out of everything, mate. You're so happy, and everyone's helped you, and you've helped everyone else as
Yep.
well.
They build you up. They can get rid of you too.
They can
They-
get
like,
very quick,
Very, very quick.
as we know in this world
Oh,
from your
mate.
experiences in rugby league.
Mate,
You know,
very quick. One day you're the best ever, the next you're not. So I just always just appreciative, bro.
I've got one more question for you, Denan. Where do you see the Bloke in 10 years' time from now?
Okay. Hopefully I see it as I in regards to the show, I hopefully see it as the biggest sports show in the country. So right now it's the biggest sports podcast.
Yep.
Right now it's bigger than a lot of sports shows, but it's not the biggest sports show in the country.
Okay.
So in 10 years, I would hope that it's the number one sports show in the country, whether it's a podcast, whether it's mainstream TV, whatever.
Yep.
But if it's not, that's fine too. As long as I get to do this. I remember when I first went from doing my Sparky apprenticeship to this, I always said, if I could get paid enough money to cover the bills and do this for a living, that's a great life. And that genuinely, even today, even though like obviously it's gone beyond that to a degree.
Yep.
If it goes back down to that, that's still an incredible life. Like, what a life to live. You got, healthy new child, a beautiful wife, and you get to come in and talk about footy. That's good for me.
Mate, you are flying. You hit the jackpot without hitting the jackpot, mate.
Mate, I get to talk about footy and drink beer. Like,
How good is it?
seriously, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Anyway, mate, I can't thank you enough for coming on the Woodsy's Club Tour. Thank you very much, and I hope in 10 years' time you are the number one on the platforms, brother.
Hope so, bro.
Appreciate it,
Thanks,
mate.
brother. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Thank
legend.
you.